Thank you. This is again a meeting of the Roosevelt Island Audit Committee. Present for the committee here, Lydia Time. Present for the committee by remote is Morris Peters, our representative from the Division of Budget, and Howard Polvey, Chair. Present for the board, Faye Christian. Present for the corporation, we're pleased to have Druvika Amin, our VP and CFO. Mary Cuneen, our VP of Operations. Oh, and a new person on this call, we have B.J. Jones, our esteemed president. Of long tenure. And also we have Marcus Louis, our the controller. Is
Deputy controller.
I always get that stuff mixed up. Okay, so the main reason we're here is that we're looking at an initial view of the budget for the year 2026-27. This budget, when finalized, will be adopted by December of this year. This budget has already been provided to Division of Budget for their comment. So this budget was created based on 4 or 5 months of actuals that were projected and an understanding, an estimate of where we will stand, well, 6-7 months from now. And so we're anticipating what we will have in terms of resources. We're balancing those resources against the needs that we anticipate meeting during that next fiscal year. I'll ask Morris to talk about the review that the Division of Budget provides and comments that they may have had. And then I'll ask Drew and Mary to talk about the elements of planning that entered into this budget. Now, this is the initial view of the budget for the committee, and very soon the board will have an initial view. There will be comments, there will be other discussions, there will be a need to understand and answer questions. So I certainly anticipate at least another audit committee meeting and maybe full discussion if necessary beyond that. So that said, Morris?
Sure. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. As Howard mentioned, we did have the opportunity to review this preliminary budget with our staff in the Division of Budget. We took a look at it sort of with the hat on for consistency across, other state entities. Certainly we had a number of questions as we went through it, but in general terms, we found this proposed budget to, be, reasonable in terms of its assumptions. I think a lot of, the expense lines are appropriately conservative. For example, on the personnel side, where the budget assumes that we're filling some positions that are currently vacant and does not account for, natural sort of turnover. So there is, some conservative assumptions that, I think this budget, like many previously, could come under on the expense side with the, the normal day-to-day management that the staff will do. And, then another sort of, big sort of ticket item is, looking at the long-term, trends. I think the corporation over the next few years is going to have to be purposeful about, new revenue sources. And that's probably a larger, discussion than, than is the purpose of this exercise in particular. But the reserves are, being diminished as we look forward through the next few years, according to this sort of long range plan. But having said that, I think this budget in many ways is responsive to a lot of the things that we have heard as, board members about what people on the island are interested in seeing. So some of these investments in transportation and some of the facilities, I think, are, will certainly be appreciated by a lot of people. But I don't want to jump ahead. Just, thank you to the staff for all of the work that everybody put into it. Thank you for the time that they spent with me and our staff in the Division of Budget. And I'll turn it over to Drew and her team, or whoever is next going to present for the staff. But thank you.
Sure, thank you. We actually have a presentation, so Marcus is going to pull it up. I'm ready.
Is there music?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Juvika Amin. I'm the CFO and VP of REAC. The budget was based on a forecasting plan using future reasonable assumptions and trends in operations to determine estimates. The budget has been prepared with fiscal responsibility and reflects community needs and operational continuity. It is realistic with costs and is conservative as the island has unique operational needs. For the fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget, I will be focusing mainly on the overview of the proposed budget. If you would like to follow along with me on the projector screen, I'll mostly be speaking about the items shown on the 26-27 budget summary, which appears in your meeting materials on page 5. So REAC is anticipating to see an increase in revenue of $2.8 million or 7.1%, and total expenses before depreciation to increase by $2.9 million or 7.5%. Therefore, the net income before depreciation is anticipated to increase by $24,000. Any further increase in costs could lead us to a deficit. Now, please turn to page 10 to 13 of the proposed budget materials for the detailed breakdown of revenue. Overall, REAC is anticipating to see an increase in revenue of $2.8 million or 7.1%. The main drivers of the increases are ground rent revenue is anticipated to increase by $3.1 million or 50.1%. This is due to receiving monthly ground lease payments from building number 9 of $147,000 on a monthly basis, and annually it calculates to $1.7 million. This is offset by interest between principal and interest. In summary, GASB 87 reflects the amortization of the leases and the recognition of interest over the lease term. Commercial rent revenue is anticipated to increase $207,000 or 10.9%. This is due to contractual escalations. This includes guaranteed rent from Hudson Related of $86,000 on a monthly basis. On the 15th anniversary in 2026, appraisals will need to be completed. This will actually increase rent based on the current fair market value. Public safety reimbursement is anticipated to increase by $105,000 or 3.9%. This is due to contractual escalations. Transportation revenue is anticipated to increase by $483,000 or 19.4%. This is due to motorgate rate increase and anticipating full parking spaces to be fully occupied. This is offset by tramway revenue, which is anticipated to decrease by $521,000 or 7.88%. This is due to F-Train being back in service, causing a reduction in ridership. Other revenue is projected to decrease by $185,000 or 7.8%. This is mainly due to FEMA grant closeout in fiscal year 25-26, and no grant is budgeted in fiscal year 26-27. The FEMA grant was related to the COVID-19 PP&E and Safe Opening Project. Residential fees are projected to decrease by $151,000 or 2.4%. This is mainly due to tax equivalency payment and aligning with the fiscal year 25-26 projected actual. Moving on to personnel expenses. Detailed breakdown could be located on page 14 of the proposed budget materials. Overall, personnel expenses anticipate to increase by $1.3 million or 6.5%. This is due to an increase in salary for COLA, which is cost of living adjustment, of 2%, and standard merit-based increases of 3%. The increase also includes an increase of temporary employees in the prior year. Additional positions were added to reduce professional fees costs and increase savings long-term. This report also captures vacant positions as well as temporary employees. Now we proceed to other than personnel expenses. The detailed breakdown could be located on pages 15 to 17 of the proposed budget materials. Some of the factors contributing to the rising variance. Management fee increased by $624,000 or 9%. It's mainly due to rising costs by POMA for union and non-union costs. Professional fees increased by $533,000 or 26.8%. This increase is mainly due to NVAC and third-party on-call services such as plumbing, electric, HVAC, and et cetera. Insurance increased by $267,000 or 4.9%. We have ongoing negotiations with the insurance carrier and seeking a single-digit rate increase like we did prior year. Assumptions are based on actual data from premiums and the increase in carriers' reinsurance costs in the market and limited capacity issues. Supplies and services increased by $316,000 or 27.6%. This is mainly due to utility expenses, which is electric and power for the tram and sports park. Other expenses increased by $100,000 or 14.1%. This increase consists of bank charges for merchant fee, which has a direct correlation with the sports park revenue and memberships, and also includes holiday decoration contract. The telecommunication increased by $37,000 or 15.6%. This is due to internet service and data line increases. This is offset by vehicle maintenance, which decreased by $95,000 or 28.5%, as we're anticipating repairs for buses and vehicles to reduce. Repairs and maintenance is anticipated to decrease by $63,000 or 3.7%. This is mainly due to anticipation in reduction of repairs of elevators, potholes, island fixtures, and trees and lawn. Office equipment is due to decrease by $36,000 or 19.5%. This is due to reduction in computer purchase. Finally, let's look at the capital plan budget for fiscal year 26-27. The detailed breakdown could be located on page 7 to 9 of the proposed budget materials. Overall, we're budgeting $14.7 million in capital planning. This is an increase of $6.3 million that was budgeted from prior year's capital budget. As a result, the capital plan for fiscal year 26-27 increased in scope for the upcoming fiscal year. The main projects are $5.7 million towards roadway rehabilitation. This is removal of sea bricks to replace with concrete, add lighting and wayfinding signage. $2.3 million for vehicle bus upgrade. We plan to order one new Flyer hybrid bus and also continue with midlife overhauls for 2 of our buses. Also in this capital plan is $2.7 million that's allocated to tramway modernization. We will need to modernize the station frame, the gearbox overhaul, and the carriage overhaul. Also in this capital plan, we have $0.8 million for the firefighters' field comfort station, which is the restroom. Moving forward, we have identified several strategic ideas that can enhance cash flow keep operations sustainable, and reduce costs, since cash flow is anticipated to go negative in fiscal year 28-29. As such, they include to review and possibly defer or cut back on certain capital projects based on cash flow, look at grant income, exploring various avenues to increase grant funding that align with our capital, operational, and infrastructure type of projects, contract reviews which are favorable to REAC, that include negotiating terms with POMA to make terms favorable to REAC, identifying developmental opportunities on valuable land, review cost-benefit analysis for contracts, explore additional revenue streams for billback for ABEC and buses when full fleet is organized, advertising and permits, and increasing PFD reimbursements. Continue to look for additional revenue through possible lease true-ups after review of each lease. We have been successful in receiving true-up money from several buildings. These items will be staged properly, and we have to take inflation into consideration when making final decisions. The current inflation rate is at 2.9% compared to 2.5% last year. Inflation has increased from last year. This is due to energy price increase, food price pressures, labor market tightness, and reacceleration of demand. Cost of services continue to climb. Grocery prices are not falling, and housing costs are climbing. The Federal Reserve began cutting rates in September, but that risk remains in the inflation outlook. Even as previous inflation drivers ease, new ones replace them, keeping overall inflation elevated. Lastly, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to present. I hope to make REAC successful in delivering consistent growth and benefit the public.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So one question about inflation, rates return on reserves. That should also inflate a little bit.
Yes, that's right.
So, and I saw it, of course, but the expected return on reserves might be mentioned, I think,
Okay.
as an offset.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly, whatever we can do to get grants in would be very important. I mean, we have some unique situations, like the roadways, maybe there's money there. Even the ABAC, which is kind of a demonstration system, maybe, I know our friends at TSNY help us out from time to time, but maybe there'll be a little bit more volunteering, especially since this type of community system might be of interest again, where they don't need to have as many personnel manning trucks on streets.
Yeah, and going back to the reserves you mentioned, we do have about $27 million in key bills.
Right.
Yeah,
mentioning
so that will,
mentioning reserves and
be
reserves.
affected. Mm-hmm.
I know that Ada was looking into grants and stuff. Has she found any?
Yes, Ada and I have both been working on grants. We have filed 4 applications for grants. There's one additional grant that we spoke to Kruger's office about, which is a CREST grant, which deals with community needs.
Okay.
And we had a really productive conversation today in terms of how the process works and what they're looking for. And it looks like, if all goes well, Kruger can nominate us
that's great.
for a grant through through the state senator's budget.
That's great.
Mhm.
How much do you think it might be?
It could be up to $600,000.
Oh, that's nice.
That one, but then there's 2 congressional applications we did. We did one with State Senator Schumer, and we did one with Gillibrand. And we did those applications for the tram modernization project, up to $1.5 million each.
Okay.
And we actually had somebody from Gillibrand's office visit us in the summer, so that was a good sign.
That's great.
So the presentation might mention these possible grants.
Yes,
Just to show the efforts being made.
sure.
That's good.
And the other 2, one was with Assemblywoman Seawright, and the other one was with State Senator Kruger.
Okay. That's great.
Good. So, as part of this, each of the departments has produced an estimate that's figured into building a budget. And part of the budget is a question of timing and staging. So I know that we have an RFP that's been hopefully successfully responded to for the Eleanor's Pier, with the 3 different elements of that. Wood, metal, and concrete, I guess.
They all have to be individual grants, wood, metal, and concrete?
Well, basically, you have one company that probably has a specialty in metal.
Uh-huh.
So imagine one company can do everything.
That'd be nice.
Then they could bid all 3.
Mm-hmm.
But suppose that there are companies that have different specialties, making them more efficient in one aspect to the other. Like the piers require marine work, and that's expensive and difficult.
I don't know what to do.
So the specialists for that might not be the ones to do the railings.
That's Mark Block.
Thank you.
Hi, Mark.
How are you?
Come on in.
Let the broadcast reflect that Board Member Mark Block has joined our happy committee.
Sorry for my delay.
And maybe there's an extra copy
Yes.
of the,
Yes. This is yours? We do have extra copy. You can share this one if you'd like.
So Mark, this is the initial presentation of the budget. We'll have another meeting, I'm sure. And Drew has gone over the presentation that she's planning for the upcoming board meeting
Okay.
next week, and talked about, important elements of the budget that's anticipated. So, if you have questions, chime in. Hopefully, some of them have been answered by now. But I'm about to ask Mary about capital items. She have important input for that for the budget. So, we have the roadways in here, of course. And we heard on a call yesterday that people are still confused or concerned about the lack of Z-bricks, perhaps. So maybe a meeting about that big and invasive project might be useful before long. Were there any elements that you had to adjust timing or staging? I know everything, we'd love to do everything all at once, but we can't.
Yeah, so the capital plan, we had to take into account that we have some critical infrastructure repairs that need to happen sooner than later. The roadways being one of the main projects that needs to happen as soon as possible. So we are prioritizing that for next year to happen on Main Street. And then from there, we did our best to schedule and plan out other critical projects related to, AVAC facility, with Shepherd, there's some repointing and shoring that needs to be done in that area, and then also Blackwell House, looking at the roof, and then also additional shoring within the basement of that area. So really it was a collaboration with finance to find ways where we can achieve the critical needs of the capital program, and then also do that thoughtfully so that we can plan out other important work in future fiscal years.
Blackwell House is like a sponge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Millions were spent on rehabbing it, and it's not such a big structure, really.
And there are certain projects, I'll add to what Mary was saying, that were consistently deferred and that need to be taken care of now.
And they are? Which ones?
The roadway project for one.
Exactly.
AVAC plan.
Correct. The
you know,
tram,
The tram, Blackwell House, Good Shepherd. you know, we're dealing with a lot of reactive repairs, a lot of catching up from, you know, years, maybe decades of not addressing these in a timely way. So we feel that this capital program allows us to address the most critical needs first and then work our way through there.
I have a question about the plans for the elevator in the Good Shepherd Church. Just this past Sunday, Nancy Brown, who we all know, right? She got stuck in the elevator at Good Shepherd Church because she got in and no one had pushed a button for her. She was stuck there for 10, 15 minutes, screaming. And we don't want anybody else to have that kind of experience. Is there any way in that, the plan that we can have some kind of button that you can push or something that would open the door or something like that? Or
I'm sorry, why did she need someone to push the button?
because you need to push the up button or down button, well, the G button or the B, whatever the button is, in order for the elevator to go anywhere.
She's pretty much quadriplegic.
She's quadriplegic,
So her chair has a small mobility device.
Okay.
And is it using a puck system or not?
She has a little toggle that she can
So,
use with her hand.
So she's severely debilitated. I mean,
I don't wanna sound, I got it.
I agree with you.
That's not the elevator's issue.
No, it's not, it's not.
That's, and I don't think that's REAC's issue, it's a horrible thing that happened. It's just not our thing.
Well, okay, so I know that the church said that they were gonna try and have somebody monitor and make sure that would be okay. But I'm just wondering if, in the event that the church isn't in whatever, service or whatever, and something else happens, but she can't get to it.
Yeah, but, hold on.
Doesn't she have an assistant? Does she have an
Not all the time. She doesn't have 24/7 assistant. Yeah, go ahead.
I understand what you're saying,
Uh-huh.
and I got it. Horrible situation. If we assume the liability of having someone come check it out, is it become our liability for that? If we assume the obligation for someone to check out the elevator, is there a liability as well?
I was just hoping that there would be some kind of trigger or some kind of mechanical thing that could happen, even if it's just like a voice-activated thing that would open the door or something like that. And I'm hoping that it won't be very expensive and it could be something that we could check out. Because I don't want a tragedy to happen inside the elevator. Nobody does, nobody.
Right.
So I'm hoping for like a cheap fix.
I don't think a voice activated would be cheap, but it'd be nice to have one.
Or the clapper, I don't know. You know, whatever that might be, you know.
Can't have a clapper.
Whatever, you know, but that's what I'm
Or
hoping.
sometimes when you go into department stores, you know how the doors just open once you step close.
Or
Yeah,
a sensor,
There's a sen- yeah.
or like a back and
Yeah.
forth, whatever. I mean, that might not be, you know, cheap either, but, you know,
Oh, as long as control systems are being looked at.
yeah.
Might as well
Yeah,
find
well,
out
check that out.
if there's an available option.
Yeah, since it is on the table, that would be nice to explore.
Just to add to the roadways work, we did receive, we were able to transfer the funds for the TAP grant from DOT to this roadways project, so it is, we realize it in the budget, however, we do expect to be reimbursed up to $5 million for the roadways project, so.
That would make a big difference. I mean, that almost defers at least 1 year of red ink.
For reimbursement, just to make sure, we have to lay out the funds and then we get.
Correct.
Right.
Do we have to lay
It's
out?
actually anticipated in the cash flow.
Okay.
So, before you came in, Drew mentioned that the reserves are, what, 27 million?
7 million
Mostly in T-bills.
in T-bills, yes.
So, yeah, we have reserves, but we also have these capital expenditures that are, some have been deferred, most are necessary. You know, we put it off the whole road by, see here, for the tram. So that's a major project in Outreach. That'll be not this coming fiscal year, but the following one.
Yeah.
Holbrook will be in, right, 27,
correct.
28. Every 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
Right, and then some other work that needs to be done on the tram to keep it.
I think we need to come up with some way we could get the city and state to help with the tram, because we are totally responsible for the wear and tear of the tram. Yet we are limited in things we can do for our residents. And since we have to ignore all of their requests, I think that they should be responsible for some of the care of the tram. And I think that would be nice to come up with one way to get them to help with it.
Well, we can make an argument that they provided 60% of the capital for the reconstruction of the tram. So maybe they would ante up at least some of the operation.
I think that, I think they should, because we are.
I mean, the MTA has to it can run in a deficit, but we can't.
Right.
And we are running a deficit with the tram. I mean, if you look at the revenue and total expenses, plus the capital infrastructure projects, we are running at a loss. And we have been historically. And even what we're getting through the ground leases, supposedly, you know, it's not enough to cover it.
The ground leases, each building pretty much had its own negotiations. I mean, Manhattan Park was one unit, and Southtown, the master plan for it was one negotiation. But each building had its own variance. And then we have the wire buildings, and then we have the octagon, which is a very special case in my opinion. And we're pretty much stuck with the positions we find ourselves, except we have an occasion to open books again if we're talking about a master lease extension. You know, one thing when we look at this, I know I find GASB 87 to be very, very confusing. And I looked at the example. Where is the lease of relocation? So it's maybe 10? No, page 11. Yeah. Okay. So as an example, so we have Westview, which we mentioned, you answered this question.
Yes, which Lydia has.
So Westview, $325 per year with a 10% increase. So we do have a 10% increase,
We do.
right? So we do have, so now we have it as.
Yeah, that's the benchmark, yeah.
Right, right, so now we have 357.5.
Correct.
Okay,
That's right.
so if we add up the figures shown under the principal, which is 134, and the interest earned on lease.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry. Westview, the 10% is the.
So it says Westview, 325,000 per year with a 10% increase.
This is a question you asked earlier,
Yeah.
which I answered.
And it's not here.
It is.
Well, it's probably there. I can't.
I'm using this to try to explain GASB 87.
Yeah, if you could do that, that'd be
Glory.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So what GASB 87 did is it tried to put all these leases in a better accounting position, which I find confusing, but that's me. And they said, well, you have a lease, long-term lease, and the long-term lease has a bunch of payments that you start to get each and every year under the terms of the lease. Why don't we just present value them all? That sounds fun. Okay. So we present value them all because that's what they say to do. And now that's the present value of all the money you're going to get from letting this asset go and make it productive. And because you haven't actually increased your net worth, you have a balance item, but we'll leave that out of it. So now we have this present value of all these payments, and we're going to amortize it over the life of the lease. So amortization is tricky because the payments may have escalations, and may have other things, different rates, and so we have a number that we got because of accounting. And that number is the principal ground rent that we're going to recognize in the year. Now, by happy circumstance, we might not be getting that principal ground rent because we have a lease that says you're going to be paying, for Westview's case, $357. So we have what GASB says we're getting from the amortization of the lease. And we have $357, and we're going to get something else, and we're going to call it interest. You have to call it something, we'll call it interest. And so we have these two terms that show up for each and every ground lease. Amortization recognized in the year, and the interest imputed because we have real money coming in. And so it kind of offsets. So that's the operation of GASB 87 as I understand it this minute.
Yes, the interest is implicit when you're calculating the amortization. It's about 3%.
Yeah, so we used an interest, we used one interest, we did it once. And now we're going to use that interest rate, we're going to amortize it for recognition, and we're actually going to make better interest because we have a real ground lease with real money coming in. So I'm just trying to explain this really confusing point, because if you look year over year over year, all of a sudden interest jumps up big. Where did it come from? We have all these monies invested. I thought the interest rate was 2% or something like that. And no, it's because of this weirdness with GASB 87. So that's my interpretation of an actuary. It's not very good. Sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why is there a decrease in interest between 2035 and then 2036?
You mean 2025 and 2026?
No. If you look at the
Oh,
interest earned on lease and the projected,
What page are you on?
on page 11.
Okay.
But if you look on the interest earned on lease, there's I guess the second to last column is 2035, and that's $11,045, which is a decrease from the year before, which decreased from the year before, but then there's a sharp decrease for the next one to $10,991. Why is there a decrease? Or I guess that's the ground rent, why would there be a decrease on that?
Well, because this is the whole GASB 87 reporting that Mr. Pallavi was mentioning. So you have to amortize the lease and recognize the revenue. But if you add up both, if you add up 8,013 plus 11,045, that is actually your ground rent that you'll be receiving.
Right, so the escalation on the amortized piece being recognized causes the offsetting interest to be lower as time goes on, because you built the present value pyramid with future escalations in ground rents. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have that.
No, and some of these leases work differently in terms of when they're escalating.
Yeah,
That also plays a part.
Yeah, it makes it fun.
Yeah,
All these things.
exactly.
You know, you find when a lot of the ground leases are onesies, meaning you can't quite say this is going to be exactly like that. Usually it's not. Like Westview and Island House are not cookie cutter like that. So, no, it's daunting. They've done very well introducing this part into the budget. The transition made my eyes cross when it happened. and I'm sure you experienced it too.
Yeah.
I'm still confused. Sorry.
Anyway, I don't have any comments. I thank everyone who came together and put this budget together. We have it now to review and to ask questions about stage and timing, other things. And we have to keep ourselves mindful about the red ink showing up in the not so far distant future, and hope that we find ways of ameliorating it. You know, Mark, as you look through this and develop questions, you can send them to the committee and to Drew, and you know, we'll try our best to develop answers that will be available, maybe not before the board meeting next week, but certainly over the next month, certainly in November.
This is a very, thank you for assuming that I'll have questions.
Did you get your magnifying glass yet?
Oh my God.
That's
So what I can do is, I had a whole list of questions that I asked Drew, and she gave me the answer, so I can forward that to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you wanna, I don't know that you wanna,
Share.
so yeah,
Yeah, so,
I can distribute it.
And then I could forward the presentation to you that I just ran through in detail, and then if you have any questions, let me know.
You're right.
and then there are some important questions, like, so I ran to Cy Opperman as I was coming in, and he's saying, oh, I'm hoping that there'll be some buses. And I said, I think I'm sure we have money in there for buses. He said, oh, that's great, we could use 2 buses. I said, well, there are buses, I'm sure, but I'm not quite sure if they're gonna be the mini buses or big buses. He didn't like that very much.
Well, on your way out, you could tell them it's one of the big buses, it's a hybrid bus. So we are looking to purchase one, and then we're doing mid-life overhauls for 2 of the other buses, which will increase the life expectancy by 5 to 7 years.
It's really good that it's big, because the residents weren't happy with the white bus.
Oh, the mini bus, yeah.
That was horrible.
So you gotta say, it's better than nothing.
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
but
not
it
sure
was
about
a,
that.
but wheelchairs,
I'm not sure about
we had difficulty getting out.
If you get stuck in the back of it while everyone's filled up, it's not better than nothing.
So, Morris,
But it's an alternative for the
No,
Costco
it's-
runs,
it's-
or like if we have to go into the city, if there's something, wrong with the tram,
When we
so.
have one.
Well, not too many can-
I know, not, yeah, exactly. But, we looked at the data, not many people were getting on
Riding
the
it
bus.
anyway.
Yeah,
yeah, as long as the subway is reliable and
Mhm.
running, I mean,
yeah.
Jump on the subway.
it helps. Well, Morris, any questions?
No,
Would you like to-
nothing besides what I've had the opportunity to ask earlier, so I think I'm good.
Great.
So you understood all the answers to the questions I asked?
I saw the
Did you-
answers, thank you. Yeah.
You saw the answers, you're fine with them? I have to ask you, because I'm still confused. So,
Okay,
yeah,
sure.
So what I would do is I can distribute this to the questions
course.
and answers to
Sure.
the entire board,
Mhm.
so you
Yeah.
guys can read the answers. I still, need to have a little more explanation.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, so I appreciate it, thank you so much.
And I'm happy to meet with you too, or have a phone call, if
Yeah,
you'd like to
that'd
go
be
over in
great.
detail.
That'd be
Yeah.
great, because some of this is, really?
It can get complicated.
Yeah, so I appreciate it, I do appreciate it.
Okay, so, anything else from anyone else? Oh,
I'll just add too, is, I'm learning this budget as well in my first 4 weeks, and I know fiscal responsibility is important to all of us, and I've been asking a lot of questions as I pour through it, and I really appreciate Drew and Marcus and Mary for having the answers and educating me, and so we'll continue going through this together in the lead up to December.
Yeah, I really do appreciate it, and I want to say that again. I appreciate you answering every question, because you see this list, it comes up every month. Every time they send me a budget, I come up with this laundry list of questions, and she so patiently answers it, so thank you so much, I really appreciate it,
No problem.
yeah.
Okay, so if there are anything else for the committee?
Well,
No?
it's like,
Well, it's 6:20. The meeting started almost promptly at 5:30. And this has been the REAC Audit Committee. We've had an initial presentation of the budget for the year beginning 4/1/26. In preparation for the presentation to the full board and unveiling to the public next week. And I think we had a good meeting, and we were able to talk about the points that are important to this budget. And as usual, I'll say again, the budget is a plan, it's not a prescription. And it's the best we can do with the data we have, and, you know, next week, if there's an emergency, we'll have to deal with it. Next week, if we discover something doesn't need as much work as we thought, we'll deal with that too. Maybe, if it could ever happen.
usually that, not that
Okay,
way.
so do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And seconded, and we are adjourned. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
See you next week. Thanks.
Well,
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Great.